Linear drumming describes the act of playing one drum at a time, one hand or one foot, without any unison strokes. That is kind of a broad definition, but it also relates to a specific style of playing the drums generally that is somewhat idiomatic within that style. The difficulty is, when we consider all of the possible ways in which we can play a linear phrase, there are a lot, an awful lot, far too many to try to practically cover all of them. To give you some example, if we take a string of 4 notes, any of those 4 notes can be played by either the right hand, the left hand, the right foot, or the left foot. So to work out the possible combinations, we have 4 for the first stroke, 4 for the second, 4 for the third, 4 for the fourth. That's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Too many for us to practically try and learn all of them to any appreciable degree. So today, in this introduction to linear drumming, I'm going to present the core concept from the book Linear Freedom, and I'm going to be working through the fundamental principle. And this is going to allow us to tackle the practical phrases and not worry about all the possible phrases. We have to make some sacrifices. We have to focus on only those which are going to be usable and practical, and not worry about some of those distant possibilities, which we could, in theory, practice, but would realistically never use. So, on page 10 of Linear Freedom, we have 6 basic phrases which consider non-consecutive bass drum strokes in a 4-note pattern. What on earth does that mean? Well, essentially, we're considering 4 notes of a 16th note. So 4 16th notes within a beat, the 1, the E, the and the And we're going to base this all off a single stroke roll. So as a basic formula, we are playing those 4 strokes, right, left, right, left. Now, into this pattern, we are going to substitute a bass drum stroke for one of those hand strokes to create a short linear phrase. On the 4 basic patterns, we can place the bass drum on the 1, the E, the and, or the But I said these are non-consecutive bass drum patterns, so we can also place 2 bass drum strokes that are not next to each other, the 1 and the and, or the E and the So in those latter 2 phrases, we are playing the bass drum twice within that 4-note phrase, but they are not next to each other. They are separated by a hand stroke. So these 6 basic phrases, as they appear on page 10 of Linear Freedom, comprise the 6 basic pieces of fundamental vocabulary for this kind of concept which we're exploring here today. Now, crucially, as we substitute the bass drum stroke for one of those 16th notes played on the hand, the rest of the single stroke roll continues undisturbed. So let's discuss what that means. We've said that we are playing the 4 notes of the 4 16th notes, right, left, right, left. That means the right hand is on the 1, left on the E, right on the and, left on the 1, E, and We're going to retain that regardless of where we substitute the bass drum. So when we look at the first pattern at the top of the page, the first stroke has been replaced with the bass drum. So rather than playing right, left, we play bass, left, right, left. And this gives us our first basic phrase. This is our first linear piece of vocabulary. And it is important to state that we could, of course, do this bass, right, left, right. But as we shall see, this gives us problems with the sticking further down the line. The whole idea of this concept is to allow the sticking to take care of itself so we can focus solely on where we want to place that bass drum stroke. But this will all become clear. So the first 4 phrases see that bass drum displaced by a 16th note every time we change to the next phrase. So to show you this, I will play each phrase 4 times, and so you can hear it in a little bit more of an interesting context, I will take it around the drums. So the first phrase, the bass drum will be on the 1. The second phrase, it will be on the E, then the and, then the Those are our 4 bass drum phrases where the bass drum has been displaced by 1/16th note each time. And you will notice that the sticking changes based on where that bass drum is placed, but the single stroke roll does not. So that second phrase where the bass drum is placed on the second 16th note becomes right, because that's how we started our single stroke roll. Kick on the second note, right, left. Right, kick, right, left. Right, kick, right, left. When that bass drum moves along to the and, it replaces the left hand, it replaces the right hand, right, left, kick, left. It replaces the right hand that was on the and. So our sticking is again generated for us, right, left, kick, left. And then perhaps the simplest phrase of the four, where the bass drum is at the end, it just replaces the final left hand. Right, kick. Right, left, right, kick. So they're the four basic phrases where we have one single bass drum stroke substituted into our single stroke roll. The two subsequent phrases, 5 and 6 as they are listed here, place the bass drum on the one as well as the and, so that replaces both right hands. So our phrase becomes kick, left, left. And then the reverse of that, the bass drum replaces both of the left hand strokes, so our pattern becomes right, kick, right, kick. So, against a hi-hat pulse, keeping quarter note time, I will play all 6 of those phrases around the drums, and you can hear the sort of phrase that we're creating. And those are our 6 pieces of vocabulary that are going to inform everything else that we do today. Now, the main goal with this, and this is sort of the main concept within Linear Freedom, the book itself, is to generate a complete concept for linear improvisation. We want to be able to improvise in a linear fashion straight away without needing to memorize hundreds of phrases, hundreds of patterns, without needing to worry about the sticking we are going to use. As I say, by basing this off a single stroke roll and using a process of substitution, the sticking is always generated for us. So to begin with, we need to address the technical aspect of these. So I won't repeat the process with all 6 phrases. I will just repeat the process with a single phrase. But the idea is that you apply this process to all 6 to become as comfortable as you can with all 6 of these basic pieces of vocabulary. So I will simply start with the top phrase, which replaces the first beat of the bar. So the bass drum is on the beat. That phrase, bass drum on the beat itself, and 3 subsequent 16th notes. We want to begin by taking that all around the drums and crucially starting to split the hands to become as comfortable as we can, simply playing it in any position. This just shows to us the different positions in which we are able to play this. Next, we might decide to use it as a fill and try transitioning into and out of it within a more groove-orientated context. We might also try it within a groove context where we actually take this linear pattern and turn it into a groove itself, something like this. Or maybe we have the hands in this position. And again, I'm just trying to become comfortable with it. I'm trying to explore, I'm trying to experiment. And we would repeat this process for all 6 of those. We would try it as 30-second notes. We might try some different combinations, and it's the combinations that I want to move on to now. To begin with, we might simply choose 2 and put them together so we can hear a longer 8-note phrase. So I'm simply going to combine the first phrase with the second phrase. That's the bass drum on the first 16th note, followed by the bass drum on the second 16th note in the following beat. That gives us that 2-beat phrase. And we would repeat the same process: familiarization, internalization. Again, exploration, trying to just see what can we do with this phrase. And we would repeat that indefinitely to get as many of the combinations as we are able. The real concept here has to do with the sticking itself. Let's consider each of these phrases in turn. If we play that second phrase where the bass drum is on the second 16th note, right, kick, right, left, we notice that the same hand before the bass drum plays again after the bass drum. The right hand plays before the bass drum, so the right hand plays after the bass drum. And this is true for all 6 of these phrases. If we look at the third phrase where the bass drum is on the third stroke, the right, left, kick, left, that left hand plays before the bass drum and the left hand plays again after the bass drum. So we find that this concept is based on the principle that, at least so far as single bass drum strokes are concerned, the same hand that plays before the bass drum plays again after the bass drum. This will mean that the single stroke sticking never changes. We always retain our right hand on the beat, the left hand on the E, the right hand on the and, the left hand on the as long as we make sure that if the bass drum follows a right hand, the right hand resumes afterwards, and if the bass drum follows a left hand, the left hand resumes afterwards. That single stroke sticking will always stay the same, and we will not need to worry about our sticking. So to see this, there is a really simple yet effective way to practice this. We are going to maintain a single stroke roll on the snare drum against a steady left foot hi-hat pattern. And we are going to focus to begin with on that right hand. And at any point within that single stroke roll, I'm going to take my right hand to the tom. I'm going to play the right hand on the tom, play the bass drum, and then play the right hand on the tom again before resuming my single stroke roll. Like that. Now I'm going to do this a little bit faster to demonstrate the concept. Maybe 1 E and a 2 E and a. So I'm either playing right, kick, right, left, or I am playing right, left, right, kick. It doesn't matter which. What matters is I'm focusing solely on that right hand playing on the tom before, playing a bass drum, and then playing again afterwards. And that is solidifying in my own mind this fact that the bass drum plays after the right hand, so the right hand plays again after the bass drum. It's solidifying that for me. So I understand if I play the right hand first, I play the right hand again after. Then, slightly more difficult because this relates to offbeat 16th notes, but we can repeat the process with the left hand. I'm going to play a continuous single stroke roll, and at any point within that roll, my left hand is going to move up to the tom. I will play the bass drum, then I will play the left hand again before resuming an unbroken single stroke roll. Like that. Again, this is solidifying for me that if I play the left hand first before a bass drum, I have to play the left hand again afterwards. Now, there are two things to note here. First of all, if I go back to the right-handed version and I simply stay up here on the tom, I will be playing exercise 6, which is just right kick, right kick, right kick, right kick, and I can maintain that indefinitely until I choose to simply resume the single stroke roll. That single stroke roll is completely unbroken. I'm just focusing on the right hand. I can do the same thing on the left hand. I stay up here and I achieve just essentially an extended version of exercise 5. Kick, left, kick, left. Now we can combine these two approaches. I can either travel up here for the right hand and play right, kick, right, or I can travel up here for the left hand and play left, kick, left. It doesn't matter which. I'm not thinking about which of those pieces of vocabulary from the page I'm playing. I am simply focused on playing a right hand, kick, right hand, or a left hand, kick, left hand. I'll take this nice and slowly at first so you can see what's going on. And then maybe we can try that a little bit faster. And this time, for the sake of musicality, I'm going to start exploring some accents and ghost notes as well. Not in any particular order, not using any particular method. I'm simply going to use a bit of dynamic application to try and make this sound a little bit more musical. But in essence, I'm playing an unbroken single stroke roll and thinking right kick right or left kick left. And there we have a linear concept that allows us to improvise completely freely within a linear context. Now, it is well worth saying this is still a development concept. This is still something that is teaching us how to play. What I just played sounded quite good, but it is not necessarily musical application completely on its own. We need to, as always, apply some appropriate musical context to this. So you might, for instance, use it as a sort of drum break or short solo break coming from a larger groove. Something like that, perhaps. It gives us a nice, steady piece of vocabulary to work with. Now, finally, you heard there that I was able to sort of maintain a steady improvisational groove based on this same linear material. Now, what I'm essentially doing there, on a very, very basic level, is thinking of something like this groove. Of course, we all know that groove. It is a very, very basic single-stroke based groove based on 16th notes. But I am applying this same improvisational linear approach to create something far more dynamic and something far less prescriptive. I'm not working with any particular patterns from the book. Those were my development material. I'm now working solely with musical application, thinking right kick right or left kick left, but as part of this 16th note based groove concept. And hopefully there you can see the power of this, how far we can take it. And this is just with 1 page's worth of material. This is just page 10 from Linear Freedom. And this is application of that fundamental vocabulary. So I will leave it there for today. Next time in part 2 of this video series, I will tackle the main concept based on consecutive bass drum strokes. This is where we have something like those much more typical linear phrases, and they're equally as powerful and equally as applicable, but they require a slightly different concept. So look out for that one soon. In the meantime, if you enjoy what I do, please explore my website where I offer various publications, various articles on drumming and rhythm, and of course video lessons or drum lessons online in the studio as well. And I would love to hear from all of you, so please check that out. Thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one. Thanks very much.